And now, Dental Bites, with the dental hygienists of Dental Post.
Hey guys, you want to know something fascinating that I read in the salary report?
Yeah.
Yes. I read that nearly half, 46.6, pretty close to half,
Oh, pretty
of
close.
associate dentists are thinking about switching jobs within the year, and roughly a third of dentists are planning to retire within 6 years.
Wow.
Like, That's
Whoa.
huge.
That is,
Like
that blows my
that
mind.
whole there's something about the role that the dentist plays within the office that when the dentist retires, moves, it shakes the whole team up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It shakes the whole team up. And patient demographics, everything like that. Like, I'm curious how this is going to play out for the dental world over 2024, 2025.
I agree with that because I think as dentists are starting to retire, we are seeing the newer dentists not wanting to own a practice.
Yeah.
So what does this have in store for dentistry in the future as a whole? Is it going to continue in the shift that we've seen of moving more towards a corporate role? Because it is very expensive to own a practice and be the one person to really run a business. And if you don't have the desire to do that, you now have the option where you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can just come in and do your thing. That's why I never wanted to be a dentist.
True.
I never wanted to run a business.
Agree. I always said that. I get that question all the time still to this day. Like, why did you decide to be a dental hygienist and not a dentist? I'm like, well, I have a long list. Where do you want me to begin? But number one has always been, I'm terrified of owning my own practice. It's so expensive. I mean, on top of the student loans that now these new dentists are coming out of. I definitely see more DSO, more corporate, private practices becoming a lot less. You know, there's pros and cons. I've worked in both. I know you guys have too. It's like there's pros and cons to both. But pretty soon we will have less options, which is a little scary to
But
think.
you know what I found super fascinating when we're talking about these dentists that are considering looking for a job? Also in the salary survey, it talks about the key motivators for switching jobs, which I totally jones on that. Like, that is the thing I find the most fascinating. And for dentists, 50% of the dentists that are considering looking for a new job are doing it to find a better work environment. And I wonder is, where the DSO market sounds easy, are these dentists that we're hearing from that are looking for the better work environment, are they in perhaps a DSO that they're unhappy? And we know that a DSO is, you know one, you only know one. Same with the private practice, you know one, you know one. But I wonder if that, like, the pendulum will switch to DSO and then they'll be like, oh, hang on, that's not what I want. I want to do, like, I don't know.
Well, we do see that in medicine, right? Like, medicine went from being the ma and pa, you go to the corner, see the doc, and then doctors started to get together, create group practices, and then you have these larger medical group facilities. Now we're starting to see doctors leaving those larger practices to go back to being a solo clinician where they have more autonomy and control over their practice. And so somewhere in there is the sweet spot. And I wonder, these doctors, the associates, those that are considered associates, they are employees, and they are just like any other employee. They want to feel appreciated and being able to have some of that autonomy as well. So if they're out there searching and seeking that, will they eventually decide that they want to be off on their own after their student loans are paid, right?
I know if that ever happens. But it's funny that you mentioned that about the medical field, because I also find it interesting that veterinary medicine is the same. They are. And it used to be you would graduate and be a vet and you would open up your own clinic. Now, and I didn't even realize this, but just about at least in my area, every veterinarian is owned by a corporate practice now, which I find very interesting.
It is. Yeah. It is very interesting. But it does go to play into the shift that we're seeing in regards to dentists becoming employees instead of being 100% practice owners. So when we talk about the third of the doctors that are retiring, what does that retirement look like? Are they retiring and selling their practice to another dentist associate, or are they selling to a group organization, a corporate organization? And how does that lay out?
Right. And what does that mean for us hygienists?
Right.
I wonder.
And I'm sure at the end of the day, it's a numbers game,
Yeah.
how the dentist in their retirement has to think about their future and what, you want to also take care of your team that has been so loyal to you. But I think really at the end of the day, it comes to numbers.
Right. So while we're talking about this, I do have a question for you guys. So since we are in that shift of dentists being their own practice owner to shifting outside of that, then whose responsibility is it to create that better working environment? Because if the doctors are seeking that, and when we see that across all industries, it doesn't matter, everybody wants a great working environment. So if the doctors are seeing that, as clinicians, we've always put it, oh, well, that's the doctor's job. At least from people that I've talked with, we kind of assume it's the doctor's job to create this great working environment for us. But if the doctors are seeking that, whose role is that?
Well, this is so eye-opening, like working in as a hygienist clinically my entire life. I have never once, and I thought about my dentist I'm working for, if they were happy with their environment. That has never once crossed my mind. And I'm just like, how have I never thought about them? In my mind, I don't want to say they are the full responsibility. I do think, when the dentist comes in and they're in a bad mood, it does kind of shift everyone else's mood, but we are a team at the end of the day. So if you see the dentist or your assistant or the other hygienist down, it is, up to everyone else to, hey, let's pick them up. Let's get this day going. So that is very interesting to me right now of like, okay, it really is everyone. I mean, the dentist has bad days too. They struggle. They have their anxieties. We do have to think about them. And think of it all as a team. So I think just communication is always a big thing. Team meetings, every morning meetings or monthly meetings, whatever it is, where everyone can get together, talk about their happiness, their negatives of the month or the week, I think is the right way to go to keep the open communication so things don't get beaten down throughout time.
Yeah, I think this is a great team meeting. I think you guys should take this data and sit down with, have that office meeting where you guys talk about like, okay, how are we all feeling? Because this salary survey is not just a salary survey. This is really a state of the industry. How are all of us feeling, getting a pulse on it, and then let's make it better.
Yeah, and it makes it so easy to do that at the meeting too, because of the way that the data is broken down, the graphs, the charts. It's not just reading a report. Like you get these images so you can really truly see that comparison, which makes that conversation flow a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you are looking for this, you're like, where on earth is this? I need this information. There's probably a link somewhere. But if not, go to dentalpost.net, and I'm sure there will be a big old banner that you can click on and you can download this report and you can take this back to your office and really, use it as a force for good.